Analysis of digital technologies. From the start of my AS year to the end of my AS year, I learned how to use many different technologies, some which I had heard of before and some which I hadn't. Every technology I used helped me in some way to create my AS project music magazine. Front cover. Firstly, my front cover. In order to create this, I used Photoshop. I use this as mainly a designing program as opposed to a program like InDesign, which is a desktop publishing program, which is mainly used for layout. I felt like this was beneficial for my front cover as it allowed me to be very design reliant and have more carefully constructed and designed aspects on my front cover, as this was used for mainly first impressions. Certain aspects of my front cover rely on different tools within Photoshop, such as my masthead, which was created using Brody font. I use this as, although it went against generic conventions of a music magazine by being a very impact font, I use this for the curly effect, as this represented the tape reel of a cassette tape. Here is the footage of me creating my masthead, which was filmed using Cam Studio.
This font was enlarged to make it very prominent. I also used a bright orange font for this, as it stuck to my house style. I applied a black stroke around this in order to make it very prominent. I used Pointer Agate in size 30 pt for my cover lines, 60 pt for my main cover line, and the names of the duo, James and KP. All of these were in a bold con style to make it have a big impact on my front cover. Much like my masthead, I used an orange font for these, which had a black stroke around to distinguish these from the background image. My other subcover lines, such as Moving Away from Her Roots, were in black Pointer Agate font in size 15 pt, to make them evidently smaller than the cover lines, yet still important. I also used a handwritten font on my front cover. These were Sego Script in size 15. This handwritten font made it seem more personal and direct from the missing pages, as this was used for a pull quote. The image I used on this page was originally very dark and dull. However, in order to give this a very bright feel, I boosted the contrast on Photoshop. This not only made the entire thing seem a great deal brighter, but it connoted that the missing pages are leading the way to a bright future with acoustic music. For my contents page, I used InDesign, as this is a layout program, and was very good for dividing text into columns and getting the organized and professional feel which a contents page requires to look in order to look realistic. I used a variety of text and images. As I had previously used Pointer Agate font on my front cover, I thought that in order to create continuity and to follow my house style, I would use this frequently throughout my magazine, so I used this on my banner sections, in size 23 pt, in white font against a black background. This pastiches NME magazine's banners, yet I did not do it for this reason. I used this as I just wanted them to be of high visibility and very prominent. I also used Pointer Agate font for my inside stories for my contents page, as this led on from my house style and created continuity, and it also just looked good. The only text on my contents page which was not in Pointer Agate was a little sentence-long insights into different stories of the magazine. This used Times New Roman font, as most magazines use this font throughout. This gave my magazine a professional feel and added to its realism. The images used on my contents page were taken from the same dig. I wanted to use two separate photos of the duo instead of showing them together. This showed the diversity within the duo and connoted that although they are in a duo and are brothers, they are still so different. Also, the original image for James was a completely different colour to the image of KP. However, I added a red filter to this image to make them the same, as this would reinforce the fact it was the same gig, and also, they are diverse people. They are still joined by their performance. It also created equality within the group, and the use of a red filter was used to connote the high importance of the missing pages. In order to add this effect, I created a rectangle shape in the same size as my image. I made the shape red, then added the fade to it, and simply put it over the image to make it appear as red as its partner image. For my double-page spread, I used InDesign again, as the layout properties which InDesign has allowed me to get all of my text columns to the same size, get all of my gutters in line with one another. This allowed me to give my magazine a sense of professionalism, and all this organisation added to my magazine's realism. Many elements of my double-page spread relied on the organisation of InDesign, as the interview had to look neat and had to fit all the text in the designated spaces to allow my reader to get a full understanding of the missing pages. The main image for my double-page spread was originally as bright as the finished image, so I did not have to edit this. However, just having the image made the page look very bare, so I decided to add a headline. This read The After Show, as this was a pastiche of a feature which NME contains, which is used for some interviews within the magazine, so I thought this was relevant. I found this font using 1001freefonts.com, as there were no standard fonts which had the impact font, such as this, with a broken or faded effect. I use this as the missing pages are generally an unknown band, connoting that they have faded at the top of the verso page, yet the fonts get stronger throughout the interview, meaning the reader has gained knowledge and understanding of the duo. However, I thought I should add another headline, which read The Missing Pages. I brainstormed a few ideas and came up with a bird theme which I would stick with throughout my double-page spread. As the boys have both recently come out of education and are now roaming free with their music, so the birds were a perfect metaphor for this. However, I did not want to use all small birds, so I used an eagle, as this is strong and powerful, much like the message which their music carries. I also used a resting vulture, as the music of the missing pages can sometimes be quite melancholy, so I thought this would be representative of their music. The font I used for this was found on 1001freefonts.com. I thought that finding a novelty font would be much more creative than having to find a standard font. This connoted that the music and attitudes of the missing pages is quite off the wall and unique. The font was named Ghost Town. This is the font with no extra decorations. Here is the footage of me creating this headline, filmed using Cam Studio. As you can see, I use Photoshop for this, as this is a design tool and allowed me to be creative. The slug, used on my verso page of my double-page spread, was created using my house style font of Pointer Agate and my house style colour of orange. This created continuity and brand identity. The main font used for my interview was Times New Roman in size 9pt, as it is standard for music magazine content. This gave my magazine a professional and organised feel and added to its realism. I used orange for the questions, as this fit with my house style and made it feel very homely to my magazine, but black for the responses, as TMP are outsiders to the mixtapes world. It also made them seem very serious, which completely just juxtaposes the image on the verso page. I used orange for my pull quotes, as it gave them a very light-hearted feel and made the missing pages seem much less serious. For the lead to my interview, I added a small bird, which gave the interview a decorative feel and acted as a very nice design element. My 5th review page was created using InDesign. This was essential for this page, as review pages are always very systematic and organised. So I needed to use the layout properties which InDesign has in order to get my columns the same size and make my reviews seem very professional and organised. This was key to adding to my magazine's realism. This was definitely the most serious page within my magazine, as there were only a couple of uses of the colour orange, and almost all the text was in Times New Roman. It was important to make this page serious, as I wanted my reviews to be taken seriously by an audience member in order to increase sales of the Missing Pages EP. I only used one image which I took on this page. This showed them playing instruments which reinforced my gig review of them and emphasised the fact that they are musicians, and also anchored, Bart's 1979, the review. I decided to use a set list feature on my gig review section, as big bands often have these included to allow fans to see what they've missed out on or allow them to recap what they missed. For the introductory paragraphs for both reviews, I used Point It Again, as this had an impact and immediately allowed the reader to have the fact, what I am reviewing, when it was, etc. Other technologies which I used throughout the process of creating my magazine included Cam Studio, although this often caused problems within the computer, such as causing it to slow down or causing it to freeze. Here is my first use of Cam Studio. However, it did allow me to document how to make certain things, such as my masthead or my headline, which, in the event of losing them, I would have been able to recreate them. Another technology I used was Postgres. This allowed me to keep a blog of my progress, upload drafts of pages to see my progression throughout the creative process, allowed me to access information on my project both from home and college, and allowed my planning process to be a great deal more organised. However, quite a few problems arose with this, such as it being blocked by the college system, issues with login details, it was often slow and occasionally deleted posts. In order to take all my photographs for my magazine, I used a digital SLR camera, which gave high-quality photographs of all different focuses, angles and qualities. This really helped me, as it made all my photos very clear, so when it came to using these within my magazine, they gave a sharp look and a professional appeal to my pages. I was taught how to use this camera by the technician, yet I forgot how to do certain things, so I was limited on the different functions and features I could have used. I also used non-linear editing software, Windows Movie Maker. As I had never really used this for this project, I was able to learn all about the different functions, experiment with transitions and timings, work on applying an audio overlay. I used Windows Movie Maker to complete my appendix tasks. It was a creative way of applying my information. However, certain problems arose, such as the software made my computer run very slowly, it often deleted certain bits from my videos, and sometimes the audio would not always match up with the images which were being displayed. In order to complete my appendix tasks, I used the online photo editing software, Picnic. This was helpful as it allowed me, when completing my appendix tasks, to apply a range of colours, images and fonts to make the videos I completed much more entertaining and light-hearted. This caused problems such as the text was sometimes difficult to apply. It sometimes made my computer run slowly. I also used an online data analysis website called onlinecharttool.com. This allowed me to analyse the feedback data from the questionnaires in response to my media pitch. This was slow, but it made my data a great deal easier to analyse and made it easier to see the different views and thoughts of certain participants.